Hey, how we doing? How we doing? Guys, we are back once again with the last episode of season 2 of the Shout Out podcast. It has been a wicked season, and today is no exception, boys. We have got the guys from the Deniros, Sam and Simon. How are you doing, boys?
Simon, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
I'm doing likewise.
Likewise, we like to hear it. This is a big day, isn't it, Dan?
This is a big day for us personally. We were just saying this is the first time someone has shouted someone out on a podcast and they've turned up.
Yeah,
Your first ever shout out. Well, not that no one's ever not turned up, but yeah. So we had Tasha back on way at the beginning of season 2, early days, and mentioned that the Deniros were a band we had to talk to. She put one of your songs on the playlist. Here we are. Big shout out, Tasha.
Yeah, big shout out.
Thank you, Tasha.
Simon, do you want to explain there's a particular connection between the Deniros and Tasha?
Yeah, so basically I'm drummer in both bands. So
He's greedy.
drummer in 2 bands?
That's a lot.
That's rare.
Yeah. But believe it or not, there was a time in my life I was in 5 bands. As you know, drummers are in high demand. So looking back, I don't know how I did it. But yeah, no, managed to reduce myself to 2.
So luckily we made the cut.
Yeah.
Was there an audition process? It must have been pretty brutal deciding.
Funnily enough, not really. So the connection was because the band originally formed right around, was it 2018, 2019?
Yeah, beginning of 2019. I moved down with my partner from Norfolk to sort of seek fame and fortune in that big London.
And here you are. Fame and fortune's brought you here.
Whereabouts in London?
Huh?
Whereabouts in London?
So we moved to Teddington, and weirdly, we didn't even realise this at the time, but it was only about 3 years later when we were looking for a drummer in the area that someone I worked with at a local Sainsbury's in the area was like, oh, I know a guy. And it turns out it was Simon, and he was living down the street from me for like 3 whole years without me ever knowing he was there, like right down the road.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so in 2019, moved to London, did a bunch of open mics trying to kind of get on the scene, and then met a guy called Chris Brightmore, who's also in the band, and then we kind of fell in love with each other because we were kind of opposites, but like in a sort of yin yang way. We always say like 2 sides of the same coin. It's weird how it's like we're opposites, but we just sort of have this weird special overlap musically that we're just like we've got to work together. And then we sort of went around as a duo for a little bit. We used to tell sound techs at gigs, "Oh, put just the EQ on the acoustic, just turn the bass up a bit, and that's like the bass guitar." You know, that's our bass guitar.
Works every time.
Yeah. And then we had a sort of revolving door of a few different drummers and bassists come and go. And then once we found Siren, it was like, there's no looking back.
Wow.
Yeah. And then about a year or so later, we met a guy called Hugo, who's now our bassist.
It's a
great name for a bassist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hugo Morales.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was.
Why isn't he here? Where is he?
He's actually working tonight in the Marquise, which is a sort of, it's a pub. I don't know if you guys know it, but it's near kind of Covent Garden. It's like a rock and roll kind of theme bar, but like a lot of people kind of in the industry tend to sort of gravitate there. So it's a great place to be. And,
it was actually a couple years ago. Green Day played a surprise set.
Oh yeah, I've seen this place.
Yeah. Well, it's so diddy.
The Molotovs have been there recently as well, I think.
Yeah, they do quite a lot of stuff there, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Really true.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's where it all kind of started.
Yeah.
I was listening to your music, so I was aware of the latest singles, and I dived back a bit for this podcast to kind of get an idea of where you kind of came off. The first few singles are very different to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about like the first single and like how your kind of sound, where you're inspired from there, and how it kind of evolved a little bit as over time.
So I'd say that the main evolution is the very early stuff was, so I write songs and our bandmate Chris writes songs, and because initially it was just me and him, it was like we'll record one of his, one of mine, and then sort of during the recording process we sort of bleed onto each other's tracks and sort of make it more of a Deniros thing rather than just individual tracks. But I think initially it was basically COVID threw off a lot of our plans, and it went from what should we record next out of the material we've got to what existing material do we happen to already have, and can we sort of make use of? And so the song Trains was a song that Chris had, and was almost like finished from years ago. And that was kind of in the archives, and he sent that to me, and then I did a few little overdubby bits with a bit of some strings and just little subtle bits and pieces, and then we put that out just because it's like it was something, it's like we've got some kind of music that when it's lockdown and you can't go and record anything. And then the biggest accomplishment I think in that regard was Spider's Web, which is probably our not weirdest sounding song, but most different sounding songs to any of our other stuff. And that's because that was an acoustic recording of Chris, again from years back, just him and acoustic guitar, and he sent it to me, and I was like, right, how can I try and make this sound like not just one person and an acoustic guitar? And I didn't have any proper recording equipment. I had a keyboard, which you might be able to see. It's
just shout out the keyboard.
Oh yeah.
And it has a bunch of functions on it, like strings and things like that, and harp. And I literally I was so lo-fi and sort of not aware of how to properly do things. I just put a microphone on top of the speaker on the piano and just overdubbed a bunch of like layers of strings and just like random stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and all these just weird layers. And then I'd record. My method was I'd record obnoxiously all the way through the take on each instrument, like on the piano, like more than I think should actually be on the song. And then I'd go back through and just chop it away, and then end up with just one or two random bits I liked. And so that whole song is like an acoustic recording, but sprinkled with a bunch of random atmospheric.
I like that.
If I had a million guesses, I never would have guessed that to make the strings, you put a microphone over. That's so impressive. We did similar things actually. We had our latest song that came out. Our producer was like, it'd be great for a little bit of harmonica on it. And he goes and he played. Shout out Gab if you're listening. Sorry about this. The entire song was filled with harmonica. I went like, right, okay, let's chip away at this a little bit, and ended up just with a tiny few little bits. It's a great way to do it. To really get the points that you really, really want, and you've got loads to choose from. Yeah,
exactly, and it's a way to sort of have it feel more improvised, because rather than the sort of mental stress of okay, in a second I need to do this particular little thing or get this part right, it's just you play kind of from your heart as if you were just jamming. Like sat at home jamming, not really thinking about the recording side of it, and then just things fall out, and you just pick the things that fell out nicely and get rid of the rest.
Yeah,
nice.
And then your sound has kind of just kept developing from there, man. Like the two singles that came out last year, like obsessed with them, love them.
Thank you so much.
I'm assuming they weren't recorded in your bedroom on a.
No. So luckily, I've had a bit of an upgrade since then. Yeah. Those songs we tried to record a few years ago, kind of during the tail end of COVID, in like a home studio setup, and they were kind of all right. But the problem is we had a weekend to do it. It was the first time we'd ever worked with Simon. Actually, after meeting him, we did one rehearsal with him, and then the next thing was like, "Oh, do you want to come to our house and record some drums on songs you've never heard before?"
That's pressure.
I'm not doing anything, so
and he absolutely smashed it. Bless him. It was like one or two listens, and then he's just in it, just absolutely killing it. And
playing in 5 different bands, you're probably used to picking things up. I'd imagine.
True that.
Yeah, he's an absolute genius on the kit, man. But so we had a weekend to do it, and because we're stuck in the hot, sweaty room. Like all day for hours, just doing takes and trying to record. I think 4 different songs we were trying to go for. And in the evening, we kind of had to have like a pressure release, so we'd go out and get absolutely battered, and then that would then kill the entire half of the next day because it would be hungover. And then so the ending, it kind of felt more like demos than proper finished versions. That was kind of the vibe. It was like, it didn't quite go how we wanted it to, but we got a few little gems in there. And so we kept the little bits that we liked, and then we started working with a small indie label called Ababilla Music, and they're a small non-for-profit label, and there's a guy called Elliot who's their producer, and he's an absolute whiz as a producer. Yeah. He's one of them people where as a musician I'm not too good with the techie side, hence like I said about putting the microphone on the keyboard before.
We got that.
Yeah. He's perfect for me because I'm the kind of person or artist where I'll be like, oh, can you just make it do this thing or make it go or whatever, and he'll just go, okay, yeah, sure, turn around, go on the keyboard and then put a button, and it's like it does it. You're like, what?
What you heard in your head.
Yeah, and so with him, and we just sort of updated it a bit, sort of added a bit of depth to the songs, and a bit of kind of musical seasoning to sort of make it more like it stepped up to level from the early kind of demo versions, and then releasing them. They've got another one coming out 6th of June. The song
Cherry Train, right?
Shout out.
So excited for that.
June.
So excited.
Yeah.
Is that also with
Ababilla? Yeah,
Ababilla.
It's the name of a Spanish bird. Ababilla.
Oh, shout out to them guys.
That is the first Spanish bird reference as well on the podcast. So
Yeah, well, shout out to Spanish bird.
yeah, shout out to all the Spanish birds.
You're beautiful.
Look, so Cherry Train, talk to me about it. The video, the promo video you've got going, I love that on your Instagram.
Cool.
It looks so cool.
Thanks, man. It's been an interesting one. It's each time we're doing releases, we're trying to learn from it and sort of try and do it better, because it's hard when you're all kind of you're not getting millions of pounds through the bank for putting a song on Spotify, so it's like it's trying to balance everything with day jobs and with just life constantly hitting you in the face. And so it's like each time we've tried to step up the promo and kind of not let the song down, because you put so much heart and soul into the song, then if you don't have the energy or the time to promote it properly, and like it's just going to fall flat, and that's really depressing when you've got something you're really passionate about and you're really excited to share, and then it's so disheartening when it's like, oh, no one wants to listen.
So many bands do that though. So many bands will like make a great song and then put 2 videos out, and then they're like, why is my song not doing really well? But it's like, you have to put the months of content with the song.
Carry that thing over the finish line for a long time before, if you really want to get out of it the work you put into it.
100%. How do you guys feel about doing content, the dreaded word?
It's one of it. I would just say, like, when we started, we loved it. Our first single we released, we had so many funny videos. We were pushing it. All of our friends were talking about it before it came out. And then I think going back to what we're talking about, like, we kind of just assumed that all the other ones were going to do that well, no matter how hard we tried. And we really kind of dipped a lot. And we've got our next single that's coming out. We're really trying to go back to that place, because when you love it and you love you can fall in love with making content and stuff if you are with the right people and you're having fun with it, which is like what we have been like. And I think just having fun with it, because I think the audience can tell as well. I don't know if you guys find this, but like when you watch like a funny video from a band that are promoting their stuff, you can kind of tell when they're enjoying it, and that makes you more invested in it.
We realised it though. For MASH, we had it's our first single. We'd done nothing until the day before, and then me and Dan went to a music event, got really drunk, and then we had our best numbers ever for a day one on the single, purely because of that. We had basically 24 hours of content on TikTok where we went up crazy amount of followers and loads of likes, but purely because we actually put some time into making content. So like we could have had a really great first day, but that's what we're going to hopefully do for the next one. But it's so important. Like, you spend months on a song. I don't know why you'd only spend a couple of days on a video.
Yeah, exactly that. It's that I struggle for a while. I struggled with sort of being on camera as well, and especially being in camera in a way that's not in an artistic sense. It's like I'm trying to sell you something and trying to but do it in a way where it's kind of not. I'm trying to sell you something. It's like you want to try and provide value, but at the same time, I don't know. I just find it I find it quite cringy. But I think the thing that helped me get over it is one, having a bit to drink before doing the content, especially if it's in public.
There's a theme going on here.
I don't know if you've seen the Cherry Train content. We're in like an illusion museum, and then in like a transport museum, and like all those kind of, and having to like play the song and like lip sync in front of all these like families that are walking past and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's like you kind of just have to break the seal as soon as you get into it. Once you've done one, then it's like I'm in it now, and you feel free to do it. Like we did one in Margate, some Vox Pop style videos that haven't come out yet, but they'll be coming out in a few weeks. And the idea is we're going around Margate dressed as a train conductor, asking people what the craziest trip they've ever been on is in honour of Cherry Train. And again, it's so awkward at first when you just like look like an idiot and you're walking up to people like, excuse me, can I ask you one question?
That's such a good idea, man.
Yeah. But then again, once you do it once, then it's just like, you're in the
I think you start having fun with it.
Exactly.
And then the audience will be able to tell you're having fun with it.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask how you filmed the video. You're actually in like a transport museum?
Yeah, so there's
in a bright red suit.
That's a look I call Red Man, which is where every part of the outfit is red.
Look how he'll get you.
It's a great outfit.
Red Man's coming to get you. But yeah, so the song obviously is Cherry Train, and I saw the two themes is like trains, and it's kind of like some thinly veiled metaphors for having a trip. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And so like surreal, trippy stuff and trains. And then I saw an advert for one of those like illusion museums in London where you go around and you get loads of photo opportunities. And one of the things was an upside down train. And so I was like, well, why don't we go there? Just sort of I had to sneak the camera in with the videographer. And then like none of the staff were looking, like, go. And then they're like, quickly play the song.
They're not watching this, don't worry. They're not going to watch
Whoa, they're big fans. They're big fans.
Yeah. And then sort of, dance around and sort of, I don't really know what I'm doing, but sort of black out for 30 seconds and then the clip ends and I come back to reality and I'm like, oh, okay, nice. And we just found a bunch of random places like that. I think also doing it on a very minimal budget is kind of nice because it pushes you to think outside of the box and do things you might not think of doing or might not be a bit kind of as standard if we've got to work around that kind of stuff.
So you kind of set your own limitations at that point and you know exactly what you have to work with and you've only got like a small amount of money compared to what people who are promoting, like obviously the big names have loads of money to promote their songs. If you've only got like a little pile of money, like we have this much videographer, everything else has got to come from our minds. Yeah. And it's quite a lot of fun. I think it's good. And I can tell you guys are having fun with it, which is so important about this whole process, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Can I ask a big question? It's about Isle of Wight Festival because I said to you before we came on, I'm in attendance to Isle of Wight Festival. Is that like been your biggest announcement you've had as a band yet, or is this
huge? Right?
That is like unbelievable.
I mean, so definitely so far, yeah, because that's definitely our biggest announcement so far. I think that, and we back in kind of mid-May we played Great Escape as well. Which was awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Great Escape. Talk about that a little bit, please. Where's that from?
We played. What was it called? What's the name of the place we played?
The Font.
The Font. Yeah, we played a place called the Font, where it's like the stage is kind of above the bar.
Yeah.
And so it's
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a great visual, but it was one of them because it was like a showcase event. There's no sound checks really. Yeah. And our set got pushed way back, and then it got cut way short. And so it's like we got some good photos out of it, but we then went busking the next day. There's a band in Brighton called The Big Push. Well, I don't know if they're still going. I think they might have broken up, but they got quite popular doing busking in Brighton and doing like videos of that.
Yeah.
And Hugo, our bassist, he's originally from Spain, from Malaga. And he used to watch their videos in Spain and like daydream about going and playing there. And so the next day we went there and like played the exact spot where they used to play, and like got a big crowd. And it was for him especially. That was a proper like bucket moment.
Yeah.
But for me, I'd say definitely the Isle of Wight is the biggest achievement.
That's unbelievable. Like that, I've been to Isle of Wight a few times. That Hip Shaker Lounge is unbelievable. Like, the crowd you get in there is massive.
Wicked.
Just clarify. He's talking about. He's been there. He's not played there.
I've not played there. Yeah, no. We're still doing local pubs. No, I've been there as a fan and watched bands there. And you'll have an unbelievable time. Like I'm excited to come. Until today I didn't really clock that you were there, and until I looked at the Hip Shaker because it was on your pin post. I didn't clock. Yeah. So I'll be there. I'll be front row.
Yeah, you're gonna be front row. I'll see you there.
That'd be so cool.
Wicked, man.
So jealous. Jealous.
The fact that a lot of my influences are very, as you might be able to tell by the way I sort of look, is very like 60s, 70s. Yeah. And like the fact that Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix have played that festival and now we're playing it, it's like, just that alone is just like, for me, I feel like music is like my version of religion. And it's like, those places are like holy, it's like a pilgrimage, like we're having a musical pilgrimage to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah.
We've got a ticket to ride, if you pardon the pun.
How did it come about?
We were playing. How did it come about, Simon?
What was it? It was originally the Sony connection, wasn't it? Because basically we got this. We got this offer from Sony Music for what is it? It's, production music. Essentially, we record a couple songs. They've sent us a contract, but we haven't like agreed to anything yet. But basically, we record a couple songs as like an EP, and then we send it to them, and they add it to a sort of library of other songs they've got.
A sync license library.
Yeah, and then hopefully. If like our EP gets like picked out of that list of songs, that could open up some new opportunities. So then, and
then I think we ended up. I can't remember if it was actually. I might not have even been through that same thing. I think it was was either that or another band we played with called JW Paris. We were playing part of a night in Margate, a place called the Albion Rooms, and it was like a sort of quiet kind of acoustic kind of vibe of a night. And then before we played, there was 2 people from like smallish or like indie labels, and they were doing a little talk about like giving tips and tricks on advice in the industry and all that kind of thing. And then we all did a little performance, and then one of the ladies from one of those labels, I think called Songbird HQ or Songbird, she reached out and she was like, "Oh, I loved your guys' acoustic set. I've got showcases at Isle of Wight and a Great Escape."
Wow. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and we were just
cool.
over the moon, really.
Wow. That's huge. A few beers that night, then celebrate.
yeah, definitely.
So that's what day are you playing in Isle of Wight?
Sunday, right?
We're playing the Sunday, yeah.
5:15 in the Hip Shaker Lounge.
I'll be there.
See you there shaking your hips. You better be shaking your hips, by the way.
That is such a shame. That means I'll be missing Ollie Murs on the main stage.
Yeah,
what a shame.
He'll probably leave early.
Almost got him.
Yeah. I think Sting's headlining this year, so that should be good.
Yeah, there's some huge names. Yeah, Sting, Faithless, Stereophonics,
Supergrass, I think.
Oh, yeah, Stereophonics there, aren't they?
James are playing on the Sunday, I think, headlining the Big Tent. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Are there any tickets, guys? Can you smuggle me in?
There is. We can smuggle you in. They can smuggle you in.
Oh, see what I'm up to that weekend. It'd be a good time.
you could be an extra roadie.
I can be a roadie. Can I roadie for you? I can carry so
That would be the worst decision you ever make if you let Dan and
I literally drop a guitar. Never, right, Dan?
You'd be awful. No offense.
No, one day you'll have the roadies. That's
one day I'll have the roadies.
There we go.
I would never have to drop anything ever again.
Yeah.
So, what other gigs have you got coming up this summer?
Simon, what other gigs?
That's a good question.
It's much better at keeping on track.
I do have something written down. If you're me to jump in here,
what gigs have we got coming up?
Because you're supporting Ammon and the Wayward Sons.
Yes, at the Dublin Castle, right?
Yes,
nice. Thanks for reminding me.
You're all right, mate. That's what I'm here for.
Nice. Yeah, that's
They're
another
cool,
one.
man. They're really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And also the venue as well, Dublin Castle. People like Amy Winehouse and Arctic Monkeys, Madness, all that. Those spaces again. It's like another kind of like holy ground. Playing a room like that.
I love the analogy.
Yeah.
Of music as a religion, and these places where great musicians have gone.
Yeah,
is genuinely a holy place.
It feels like like Abbey Road, for example. That would be like my mecca. That'd be my like musical mecca. Like I went there once, sadly not to record because we don't have nearly enough money for that. No. But they had like an open day thing where they had a talk on in Studio 2, and they had all the old instruments. And the great thing about Abbey Road is they keep all the instruments from back in the day, but you can use them to record. They don't, put them behind glass and a museum or something.
Oh, no way.
And so they have all the instruments out. And if you go to record there, you can play on the same piano the Beatles played on, and like use the same microphones that they did.
Really?
And people that played, the
ones the Beatles used.
Yeah, there's even a moment in the talk where they got the 3 piano, the final chord, E chord in Day in the Life, where they will hit that final chord at the end. They had those actual pianos there, and they got people up from the audience. And I kicked myself because they were, is there any piano players in? And I'm mainly a guitarist, but I can do a bit of piano. But I was assuming they meant like someone I thought they were going to ask them to do something.
Yeah.
So I didn't put my hand up. I just got 3 people up and told them to put their hands on like a particular spot, and then they recreated it in the room. It was nuts. Just to be in that space, the magic in the air is crazy.
Those vibrations.
Yeah, we'll get. Hopefully, we'll record there one day. But to be honest, I care less about the song we make, and I'm kind of just going to use it as an excuse to play around and all the old like Beatles.
You won't get anything done in there. Yeah. You could spend a week there and you'd have about 30 seconds of a song.
Yeah, exactly that, man. Yeah.
Oh man.
On the topic of your gigs, if people are to come and see you live, what can they expect? What's like a Deniros gig? How would you describe the energy, the sound? How would you describe it?
Sweaty. Pretty sweaty. But yeah, I know. High energy. Definitely. I'd say it's quite a surreal moment.
I like that.
Yeah,
surreal moment.
but particularly when we play one of our songs. It's called Tears of Diamonds, which is a very spacey kind of Pink Floyd style song. And
we get everyone to like sit on the floor.
Yeah, like they did, like
close their eyes.
Yeah, like
Actually,
they do, like they did back in the '60s at the music festival.
Yeah, try and make kind of it was kind of like vintage, but with a kind of fresh twist. A lot of our kind of some of our influences are very kind of 60s, 70s, old school kind of rock and roll, a bit of psychedelia, a bit of funk and things like that. But then kind of wrapped up in a new energy, with lots of energy.
Yeah,
we do a lot of jumping around on stage and
That's great.
jumping into the audience and just getting really sweaty, basically.
So, out of the two of you, who gets the most sweaty?
It would be neither of us. It'd be Chris. Big shout out to Chris, our bandmate. He's like I don't know if you know the comedian Lee Evans, but he's in a very similar way. We'll do like one song, and they'll turn around.
That's me.
French.
That is me. We do a half hour. We don't even play out many like fast songs, and I'll be absolutely drenched.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's hot, sweaty business, but it's good. It's good, clean rock and roll fun. And we try to make sure that every song is kind of a slight different energy and like a chocolate box with lots of different things.
Wow, the analogies are great.
Dude, your analogies are so
You're like,
but because I used to find with a lot of bands, I'd love one or two, and I still find this with lots of the up and coming bands, where they'll have one great sound, and then they'll have one amazing song that I love, and then one or two songs that sound kind of similar that are quite good but kind of samey, and then everything else just kind of sounds like the same thing.
Yeah.
And like I'd so many times I go to a gig and there'd be one particular song and I'd lose my head and I'd be like, oh, this is amazing, and the rest of the gig I'd be like, nah. And so I've always wanted to try and make it a point that if you come to our shows, it's like you're always going to get a different flavour in each song and a slightly different vibe, or like if you're sitting down for Tears of Diamonds, or so at one point towards the end I shoot everyone with my guitar in the not when I say everyone I mean the band, and then we all collapse to the floor, and then Simon does a mad drum solo for a big like crescendo finish and lots of theatrics and that kind of thing, putting on a real show. We wanted to these days, no one's got any money and everyone's busy, and so like if you're going to do a show, you want to do a show, something that's like really worth the ticket.
Give it 110%.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
it's not enough just standing up there and playing like 7 songs and expecting everyone to go wild. You have to put on a show.
Yeah.
Not like a dig, Dan.
Yeah, we're getting there. We move a bit.
Yeah, well, it took us a while, to be fair. Like, there's another a few bands in the London scene. Art would be one. Dirty Blondes would be another. Who we played with, and I don't know if you find this, but when you play with other really good bands, they force you to be better, because if they're on before you and they do an insane show, it's like you've got to raise the level, you've got to raise the bar, and that happened to us a few times with some of those bands where they were on before us. And it's like we're backstage thinking, like, shit, how are we going to follow that?
Yeah,
and so that's what pushes us to try new things and move more and just try and up the levels constantly. Another phrase I like is the rising tide lifts all boats. And I think if you surround yourself, this is why I love what you guys are doing, by the way. I think it's a great idea because the community is the key thing to this whole operation for bands of our level. Yeah. And it's all about supporting each other and just helping each other rise up, because we can just share the success. Everyone's success is everyone else's in the community.
Exactly. And this kind of music, this is what the massive thing, the bad impression we got when we started gigging, especially when we're gigging in London doing all these showcases. It's like if there's feels like a little bit of contention between every band, because it's like, who's going to be like the best band playing tonight? But when you actually get to know the artist and really let people talk about what it is they want to do, it just you realize how important the community is, and getting to meet new artists, and they send you to this gig, and then you know them through this, and then their fans start listening to your music, and everything just builds on each other. It's a proper it's not a zero-sum game at all. I think is what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Yeah,
that ties very nicely into our playlist, I think. You're already on, so you did the first band that have already been on the playlist. So
come on.
No, actually, to be fair, I'd already added one of Tasha's songs to the playlist before.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Well, he's in that band. So
this is your third time on the playlist.
Simon, mate, get off the
so nice, isn't it? Twice.
Have you got any recorded that Simon didn't do drums for?
So the first song was a previous drummer before we even knew Simon.
Add it.
Yeah, let's get that one in. No, genuinely though, we'll what we'll do is we always add one song from the band, and then we give everyone that come on to add a song. It can be any song in the world, so it could be the biggest artist, it could be another independent band, it could be whatever. So have one song from the band, and then each of you can put any song that inspires you, that you want people to hear, put it into playlist. So let me know, and I'll put it in right now.
I'm going to say, with my music marketing head on, our new single "Cherry Train" which comes out on the 6th. You can pre-save that now.
There we go.
I'd recommend that one, so you can keep an eye on it, and then on 6th of May you'll be able to stream it and give it a little listen. Ride the Cherry Train. Yeah,
that will be in the playlist as well by the time this is out. So
amazing, perfect.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah,
nice one, Rev.
Nice one.
And then a song that inspires you guys each.
Yeah.
Want to go first, so I can have a bit more time to think?
Yeah. So
let's do ones from bands we know. I think. Like,
So I would say, I'd say Art.
A great band, amazing, one of the best bands in London, by the way.
Yeah, no, phenomenal. They put on a show.
Yeah.
And then
what song are you going for?
What song? I'd say For Your Taste. So the number 4. You Are Taste.
For Your Taste.
That's a Gen Z band, right?
That is, it's in the playlist.
Have you gigged with them before?
Sorry?
Have you gigged with them not before?
Yeah, they're kind of like our musical brothers in a way. Like we met the frontman Alfie, did a gig with them like out of the blue, and then we basically just clicked instantly, and just like we're actually potentially recording a few tracks with them as like a collab.
Nice.
There's a song we do at the end of some of our live gigs called Kitchen, and it's like an improvised jam. We were jamming in one of our old houses in our like music studio room, and it was one of the first times we'd hung out. Me and Chris had hung out with Alfie from Art, and we were jamming away, and then we got a text from the neighbour saying we're being too loud. And weirdly, in his house, the kitchen was a lot quieter, like the sound didn't travel. So we're like, we'll move the jam to the kitchen. But before we do that, we thought, screw the neighbours, let's do one more jam here. And we were recording it with a mic, and we just made up this jam on the spot, and we called it Kitchen. And it was really funky. And it's one of them where just the stars aligned, and it just came out like ready-made, like improvised, perfect. So that song is like often at the end of our gigs, he'll jump up, Alfie from Art, and like do his part from the song, and so I think we might do that at another tune as actually a collab with them. So yeah,
that's great, man.
Definitely check them out. They're wicked.
Nice.
That, man.
Really. They're in the playlist. What's the final song? Who chose Art? Who's okay, right, cool.
And then I'm going to go for another great London band called JW Paris. They've got a song called Electric Candlelight, which is it's the one where if we're doing a gig with them, as we often are, and like I hear it start and I'm in another room, that's the song that will make me like drop my drink and like run to the dance floor, and like one of them tunes where as soon as you hear like that opening riff, you're like, yeah, come on, like
nice.
Sounds like my kind of
vibe. And a wicked band as well. Wicked band.
Yeah, nice. Well, you've got loads of shout outs in today, boys. Well done.
Load of shout outs.
Read the assignment. Love it. Do you want to just quickly shout out the other 2 band members one last time before we go?
Yeah, so there's actually 3. There's me, Sam Stone, we've got Simon Stix-Toolan. We've got Chris Brightmore, Hugo Morales, and Roberta Francesca, who used to be the art director for the band, but she's also a very talented singer. So we were like, well, you might as well get on stage instead of taking the pictures of the gig. Just get on the stage instead.
Is she the one who was singing that street song with you?
Yes. Yeah.
That was great, man. I love that. Sick, man. All right, thank you. Hey, where can people find your stuff? Shout out the socials and everything before we get going.
Yes, so the Deniros, you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram. You find our music on all streaming platforms.
Nice
the Deniros.
Yeah, on YouTube, Bebo, MySpace, Diary, anywhere where you can find good stuff.
People watching this don't know what that is, and unfortunately we do. So guys, thank you so much for coming on this episode of the Shout Out Podcast. Thank you, Dan, for hosting it with me, and thank you guys for watching this episode and watching the whole of season 2. It's been a wicked season, guys. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's been a great one. Take it easy, guys. Good night.
Thank you for having us.
Au revoir.